I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Ben the Bane Davis. Appreciate you coming in. Actually, I'm coming in.
I was gonna say, dude, second time in the home. We're gonna have to get a guest room for you.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to room and board pretty soon. Thanks for having me again, though, Ben.
Dude, thanks for being here, man.
The last 2 times I've been to Arizona, I've been here with you, so it's been awesome.
It's a staple. It has to be a constant, man.
Right.
Anytime you're here, we got to do it.
I'd love to. Anytime.
You're bowling like 60 fucking games.
Yo, I was gonna say, like,
it's unreal.
Does like stamina/endurance become a factor at some point?
I always ask guys that, and they're like, no.
Really?
I know, dude. I was in the elevator with this guy Jason Belmonte, who has like 16 majors. He's like the Tiger Woods of bowling, and I was like, dude, so how the fuck does your wrist feel after all these games? He's like, oh, mate, it's fine.
Really?
Yeah, no problem. I'm just like, that's unreal, dude.
Is it because they're doing it with like such perfect technique compared to us just like winging a ball as hard as we can?
I think it's a combination of technique and like repetition. These guys do it all day, fucking every day. It's basically like asking a golfer, like, oh, does your swing ever get tiring? He's like, no, it's my job. Like I can't afford for it to get tiring. Which I just think it's so kooky, because like when we're doing the broadcasts, we'll refer to them like as athletes, and we'll be like, these athletes are in peak physical condition, and it's some Midwest guy from Wisconsin with like a beer belly, and you're just like, it's not the typical athlete.
Who do you think you are? I am.
Dude, I watched fucking Pete Weber. He's
Legend.
on the PBA 50 tour. Yeah, he was doing the PBA 50 singles Hamtramck Classic in Westland, Michigan. I was just there. Calling the match play and finals, and he didn't even make the cut for qualifying. It was crazy. Yeah, it's like his first or second year on the PBA 50 tour, because like once you get too old for the PBA tour, you retire and go to the 50 tour. It's like the graveyard of PBA bowlers almost. And so Pete made that transition recently, and I mean, it was so cool watching him bowl. Like that guy's dropped so many cold lines, fucking iconic, and a really good bowler, and he's just like up there fucking hitting it. But energy was different. You could just tell it. You're like, ah.
But does he still have that like aura behind him, the mystique?
He didn't in Michigan, dude.
Really?
Because I think he wasn't doing well. I think because I showed up and like the cut was, it was already almost decided, so he knew he wasn't, making it to match play or the step ladder, so he was kind of just going through the motions, getting through it, and I was like, damn.
That's such a crazy number of games. Like 60 in a weekend?
Dude, I'll tell you what. So the first show
have you ever played 60 games in your life?
No, dude. I've bowled 3 times in the last like 2 years. Like I don't bowl frequently. But the first show I did was at South Point in November, and that was a huge bowling center. In fact, they've got 2 fucking bowling alleys in that casino.
Back to back.
They've got like the rec league for just us, and then they've got the center for like the league players. And we had 450 guys come out for qualifying. And so if you crunch the numbers on it, it came out throughout that entire week to over 5,500 games of bowling that I sat through. Not directly commentated, but that were just going on around me. And it's weird. Getting back from those events, I almost can't stop hearing like the ball hitting the pins, dude. Yeah, like, the fucking ball return thing, and yeah, I mean it's
the ball coming back out.
I'm having nightmares, man. I'm like twisting and turning in bed, and it's just bowling noises. It's terrifying.
I mean, you're everywhere, and like, if ESPN Ocho was a thing, you would be the guy.
I wish, man. Like, that's Al Michaels way back in the day started on, like, the worldwide World of Sports or Wide World of Sports. I don't know whichever one it was. But, like, that would be fucking perfect. You're just getting flown everywhere, doing everything, Kyrgyzstan tennis, Chinese basketball, and, like, showcasing random shit. At this point, like, that's kind of... I have a big interest in that type of shit.
Right.
And so I'm very bummed that type of thing isn't around anymore.
Dude, I wish it was. Like, dude, if there's a dodgeball 2, you need a cameo.
Oh,
you need to be like the reporter.
Get up there, sideline reporter.
Yeah, for ESPN Ocho.
Vince Vaughn's giving you a lot of feedback on those lanes. How are you going to deal with them in game 2? Like, dude, I love that, man. But...
How did you get with the PBA? Or commentating for them?
It's a funny story. This is the one thing I do that was complete. A lot of things I do. I mean, I never had any connections going into this, but bowling was the one area that I really had no connections in. So I reached out to them on Twitter, and I was like, "Hey, I'd love to come out to an event. Is there any way that we could maybe make this happen?" And they were like, "Oh yeah, sure, we'd love to have you." So I flew out in May of last year on my own dime, got my own hotel, showed up to this Players Championship in fucking New Brunswick, New Jersey, which is, if you've been to New Brunswick, it's not a great. I don't want to shit on it, but I'm like, dude, this is a bowling town.
Right. Okay.
And so I'm sitting there in the full outfit, the turtleneck and the blazer, and I'm just like dude, I'm the odd one out. Everyone else here is just a Midwestern basic type guy. And afterwards just networked with them. I went out and drank with some of the production team and got to know them. And I sort of expressed, hey, I'd love to commentate. I appreciate the hospitality. I was there for 2 days. I was like, I love the hospitality. I love the energy here. How can I commentate? And they gave me a couple of emails. And so from May to October, it was just following up. It was managing the relationship, building it to a point where in October they had this big summit out in Texas. And they're like, we'd love to have you out. We'd love to bring you out and give you the top-down view of Bowl TV, which is kind of the big UFC fight pass almost of bowling. And I was like, great, I'll be there. And then while I was there, they were like, we'd love to have you as a commentator. And I was like, perfect. Now, things in reality are different than what you expect or think almost. For instance, this last week in Detroit and Ohio, I'm commentating 9 hours a day of just bowling for 5 days in a row.
Gosh.
That's not something I expected last year. But, that's what you got to do. You got to get the reps in.
Right.
As much as, as repetitive as it could be.
And I mean, even going out to that follow-up meeting, going into it, did you know that you were going to have that offer?
No chance. Yeah.
Not even an inclination of it?
Going to that summit, I had, you have an idea if someone's going to fly you out to Texas, that you're thinking, okay, well, they've got a plan. They're thinking something. That you just don't I'm not going to willy-nilly bring someone out to Arizona, right? I'd have an idea of what I want to use them for. And, while we were there, it was really less about, they were bringing in some new people like myself, but it was more just everyone needs to get back on track. Because Bowl TV was drastically changing their strategy. Their subscribership had doubled over the last year. So they were like, we've got a lot more money to play around with. Here's kind of things we want to do. Here's the new things that we're, implementing. And so it was almost like the people that were there were getting this refresher course and the updates. And then the people that were new were just getting that whole, here's a broad 1,000-yard look at Bowl TV. And I wasn't even expecting anything. I was just kind of there to absorb. And one of the executives pulled me aside and he was like, we'd love to have you, and I was like, let's go. Because the main goal is obviously the Fox and FS1 shows. It's getting to that point where you're on network TV calling these huge, events. So for me, I'm like, okay, that's step 100. What is step 1? Flying out on my own dime in May. And then everything else in between.
But it's not even just only the follow-up that you put in and maintaining and upkeeping that relationship and growing it. You were doing so much other work on the side as well.
Yeah.
All the other events that you're commentating.
Yeah. I mean, then you got the mixed martial arts, you've got the pro boxing, you've got the sumo wrestling, and that's the thing, man. It's just multiple irons in a fire, and it's the same kind of iron. It's the same kind of process and mentality. It's just having several. I don't want to be tied down to one thing unless I get to a point where there's an offer that's either too good to refuse, or I get to a point in my personal life where I can't travel as much. I got to be home a bit more. So those are the two things that'll prevent me from being as spread out and diverse as I am. But kind of like what we were talking about at the beginning, I like that. It keeps it fresh for me. It keeps it dynamic. I'm going from pro bowling to next week in London for a pro boxing show with Misfits. I don't know another person who has that level of range, right? So at this point in my career where I'm still very young and inexperienced in learning, I need to be doing as much as I can, right? I can't fucking bet on one path, right? You don't shoot one arrow at an archery competition. You don't go, yeah, this one's gonna fucking land. shoot like 12. You know what I'm saying?
So that's interesting because like a lot of guys, at least the way I understood it, the guys that are on TV that are commentating, I thought they were, especially in football, like ex-athletes or guys that had studied the game specifically, and they're only doing football, right? Or the guys that are on basketball, right? They're only doing basketball. What's like your interest or your drive to do all the sports?
I think it's just be the best broadcaster I can be. Because as a play-by-play, I don't need that direct experience. I don't have to be a former athlete because it's not my job in the booth, which is a big misconception that people have when it comes to Jon Anik, for instance. He's one of the best play-by-plays, but he's not a former athlete. It's not like he competed in the UFC and captured titles because it's not relevant to that role. His job's facilitating the booth. His job is telling the stories. His job is, coming into the fights, hitting that, tail of the tape, hitting the ad reads, hitting the open, hitting the close. Like, there's a lot of other nuances. If I'm a color commentator, if I'm Daniel Cormier, I'm just there to observe, break down sequences, and make it simple for guys who haven't trained, and almost condense that down. But the play-by-play is a completely different animal, which is why I think I can plug myself in anywhere. Because I'm like, I can go do tennis. It's not like I need to be a fucking tennis athlete. Now I need to know the rules. I gotta get up to speed. That's the big challenge with bowling right now. It's weird as fuck, right? Bowling. Do you know how to score bowling?
Yes, actually.
Do you actually?
No, I wouldn't. Like, it would take me a while. Like, I wouldn't just sit there and do it fluently.
It's mad, dude. You're sitting there.
Give me a second here, real quick.
He's got count and that. Okay, so 3 strikes there. He's gonna carry
spare
over.
plus 3.
Yeah, exactly. He's got a 6 spare and then he got a 7 spare. So now you're gonna take that over. It's so weird to score bowling.
Right.
Which is it's a one thing that I didn't realize when I got into it completely, because again, I didn't have much of a base in bowling. I just was like, I think this would be funny. And I wanted to do it. But then you learn, this is complex. But as a play-by-play, you just absorb that, learn it, and then do it to the best of the ability. I think I got off the rails a little bit on that question. I can't remember.
No, but I mean, we kind of did a little bit. But it's interesting, right? Like, Anik did play-by-play for, what else did he do?
So he did Bellator in 2009. That was his first mixed martial arts play-by-play assignment. Before that, he was the host of a show called, I believe it was called MMA Live, where I think Ken Flo was a co-host. It was a great show back in the day. And before that, I believe he was a boxing reporter for most of his 20s. So he wasn't even in mixed martial arts. And the reason why he went to his first show, I think it was like an Elite XC. I could be completely wrong here. But the reason he went was almost because he was like, what the fuck is this? And then just kind of fell in love with it. And his interest and everything evolved from there. But yeah, so 2009 in Bellator, I think, was his first MMA play-by-play opportunity. 2012, gets signed to the UFC. 2017, becomes the lead. And Goldberg, funnily enough, he called over 900 NHL matches. Did you know that?
I did not.
Yeah,
no.
dude was doing hockey play-by-play the same time.
Wow.
As UFC, which I had no clue either. So it's it's not supremely uncommon. And I get these days, the huge guys, right? You talk about Gus Johnson's, who even Gus Johnson does basketball and does football. Al Michaels is mainly just doing the, I believe it's on Amazon Prime, Thursday Night Football, Sunday Night Football,
right.
whichever one it is.
Doing that in the Olympics, I think, now or something.
And it did the Olympics way back in the day. Started with baseball. I mean, he was Hawaii Islanders for a period of time, was in Cincinnati for a couple years. Like, these broadcasters, even Fitzgerald, what was Fitzgerald doing? He was working his way up through different markets, being like the sports guy, cutting highlights and different reels, and then made it all the way to ESPN, was laid off. A month later, gets the Contender Series shot, nails it. Now here he is. Like, it's the worst career to be in because it's so unpredictable. Like, think about it. It's fucking, if we wanted to be pilots, you and I would be like, okay, there is a very easy mold where the steps are in front of us and we just have to walk it, and then we're gonna be pilots. You wanna be a commentator? Good luck, right? There's not really a blueprint.
So who's like your role model or your idol in play-by-play?
I would say the couple people that I enjoy the most has to be topped by Jon Anik. I just love his style. I love what he does. I think it's the best mixed martial arts play-by-play on the planet, candidly. I think Chevello is incredibly underrated. He was one's guy for a long time. And that was a dude who was also super diverse. I mean, he does FIFA, he does everything else. He's got a great book. where he gets into that other experience. But I would say Jon. I mean, Jon's mainly the top guy. This is actually a funny one. Recently, I've discovered the Charlotte Hornets announcer, Eric Collins. I don't know if you ever...
He goes wild.
Dude, hum diddly ding! How do you do? Like, I mean, that shit is just... I love that.
Especially when LaMelo's not hurt, too.
Yeah,
oh my
he's
gosh,
losing his mind,
yeah,
man.
Yeah.
The one football call that he had where he's like, McLean! He's still on his feet!
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh, dude, I'll show you after this. It is like... That's the type of energy if I was calling a basketball or a really fast-paced sport. That's how I would approach it. You know what I mean? Where you're just going a lot of passion, a lot of energy. With bowling, for instance, it's way more reserved, and I have to be like, it's like golf. That's the way that I would describe bowling commentary. It's very lower register. It's slow, and for me, I always try and focus on the vocab. There's a million ways that I can say he threw the ball down the lane. Right, that's the start, and then how can I layer that? He skated it down the right side. He glanced it off the gutter. Slid right down the middle. Fourth arrow. Boom, strike. You know, like my job is differentiating as much as I can. And that's the fun with bowling. That's the challenge. Everything has its own challenge. Nothing that I do has the same difficulty. Which is why, to get back to the first question, how am I becoming a better broadcaster? Because I'm facing a lot of different things. And I feel like, you know, Rome's not built in a day, but I'm like, okay, I'm getting better. Getting better here, getting better there. And it all should flow into itself because at the end of the day, it is play-by-play, right? It's just not the same.
Right. I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge Ben the Bane Davis. Appreciate you coming in. Actually, I'm coming in.
I was gonna say, dude, second time in the home. We're gonna get a guest room for you.
Yeah. I'm gonna have to room board pretty soon. Thanks for having me again, though, Ben.
Dude, thanks for being here, man. I really
the last 2 times I've been to Arizona, I've been here with you, so it's been awesome.
It's a staple. It has to be a constant. Man.
Right.
Anytime you're here, we got to do it.
I'd love to. Anytime. So, out of everything that you do, what is your favorite job?
I would say one of the more interesting things that I get the chance to do right now is the sumo wrestling. Because in the States, sumo is so thrown aside. It's cast into the garbage disposal of random sports that doesn't have a huge audience, right? And I'm really pumped about being associated with this new wave of sumo, where we're trying to attack the American market and scale it out and make it more appealing to the Westerners, because I get why it's not popular. I understand it.
Why is it? Why isn't sumo popular?
Why isn't sumo popular? I think it's such a traditional sport that if you don't have maybe that cultural backing and it's not baked into your society, you have a bit of an aversion to it. Think, in Japan, you've got the clay doyo, you've got the guys in their mawashis, and that's it, so their asses are out. And, you know, people, kind of like we were talking about with bowling, you wouldn't describe that as an athlete. A lot of people wouldn't look at a sumo wrestler and go, that's an athlete, even though they are one, right? But it's just that perception. And perception's everything. So we're trying to change that and shift it. So instead of the clay doyo, we've got wrestling mats. Instead of all the traditional, you know, sprinkling the salt and those different types of moves, we're simplifying things a little bit more. And it's still traditional, and it's still sumo. But we're just like, how can we shift this to make it more appealing to Americans? And so far it has been. We had 5,100 people show up to Prudential Center, which was fucking ridiculous in New Jersey. We did Madison Square Garden, had 5,000 people show up to the theater.
No way.
Unreal. And that's why I say that's been one of the coolest ones, because I, in a million years, didn't think that at this point in my career, I'd be able to go broadcast from Prudential. I'd be able to go broadcast from Madison Square Garden.
Wow.
It was, I'm still digesting and processing. I don't have the words to describe how cool it is of an experience. So by virtue of that organization's direction and focus, allowing me to do those types of broadcasts from unique places like that, I gotta say that one's got my interest so far.
That's incredible. I would have thought even, the karate combat, that looks like some of the greatest fireworks in combat sports right now.
It is, and karate combat has got a fantastic nose for what works and what doesn't. They've sniffed out their pathway to success, and I think a lot of mixed martial arts fans maybe aren't on board because it's a heavy crypto focused company. They're really into that side of things and the token. A a lot of MMA fans, we're dumb when it comes to blockchain and Bitcoin and crypto and what is this? So I can get why Karate Combat hasn't maybe penetrated the combat sports demographic as much as they should. But you keep throwing fights together like Rockhold and Joe Schilling. You keep giving me fights like Anthony Pettis and Ben Henderson 3. You know, so they're doing the right things. I just think the big, it's not a downside. It's a personal thought that I don't love. Is the live experience is great when you're right next to the pit. It's great when you're in the bleachers, but usually they have to do it in kind of like a soundstage because of that 3D green screen generated effect. So that isolates you from doing it in an arena usually, and they've done it internationally in a couple places, and it's panned out really well. But the ones I've gone to, you know, you step out from the pit and the bleachers, and you're just like, we're in a big empty room, effectively, or we're just on a sound stage.
Right.
And at my core, I'm a combat sports fan. I want that T-Mobile. I want that arena, 18,000 sitting around the seats. So it's not really a knock on them. It's more of just like a personal, you know. Yeah,
that feels just different, right?
Yeah, because you get like, even if you step away from a UFC fight and you're walking around the stadium, you're still in that UFC atmosphere. You step away from Karate Combat, and it almost doesn't feel like you're in a Karate Combat atmosphere. Right, and that's again, at some point something's got to give, right? If we're focusing on doing this product, maybe that comes at the cost of that holistic immersion. But it's the one thing that I've just noticed where I'm like, man, I feel like this could be changed to be better, and there's still that potential and that ceiling that can be unlocked, which is a good thing. You never want to be in a place where you go, this is it, this is the top that they can accomplish or achieve. You always want to be around something where you go, oh, I see them doing this or doing that, and I see them growing and evolving. That's always the best thing.
Talking about growing and evolving, UFC 300, Max Holloway, that performance. Where is all this knockout power coming from?
I don't know, man. Ask Korean Zombie. he got the first taste of it. Right? No, it's crazy. I think it comes down to him sitting on these shots a lot more. Again, I'm not a guy that trains as much as I would like, but for your experience, I mean, it looks like he's just sitting down on these power punches. And we always like to harp on the volume punching of Max Holloway for years and years and years. That's one style, and I think he's evolving and transitioning. I almost want to blame Alex Volkanovski for this. This is all Volk's fault for beating him 3 times. That forced Max and his team to go, what can I unlock? What other tools can I add that would have changed those results and can absolutely prevent that from occurring again? And I think sitting on the shots, adding the power was the big key. And now it's who beats him? That's the big question. Who fucking beats him? I think a couple lightweights can. Islam Makhachev certainly has a fantastic chance, but Ilia Topuria versus Holloway? I mean, gun to my head, I might have to go with Holloway, right?
Might? Because it's more than likely something that we're going to be seeing this year, right?
Yeah.
That looks like it'll be the next fight.
It should be.
Right?
It should be the next fight. And I'll be more decisive. I'm going with Holloway in that fight. I think he captures... Here's my... timeline that I'd love to live in. Holloway captures the featherweight belt again. Then he heads up and fights the winner of Dustin Makhachev. Captures that belt. Double champ plus the BMF. GOAT conversation ended. It's gone. It has to be Holloway. You know what I'm saying? But that would be a great timeline to live in.
And then retire?
No, then go get the light heavyweight belt. Just fucking keep stacking on. Come on, man.
The only thing I'd want him to do other than that is beat Volk at 45.
Yeah, that would be like the thing.
Close things up, because I genuinely feel like 1, Max slightly won. 2, even more clearly won to me. And then in 3, every fight since then, Max has looked incredibly better. And I guess he has added tools to the bag, but that 3rd fight in Las Vegas, I think it was UFC 276 if I'm not mistaken, he didn't look like himself.
Something wasn't there that night.
Right.
For sure.
Whether it's a bad weight cut, which it looked like a good weight cut, that's when he's out back and he's like, I am the heat, brother. I am the heat. He looked great. So maybe if it's a case where just that day's not his day, he woke up and it wasn't there for him. But I think coming back, beating Volk in that 4th fight really would cement him and really steal back that GOAT status at 145.
I think the consideration is, and maybe the tough, unfortunate reality, he's just not a guy that he can beat. Volk's not a person that Holloway can beat. Stylistically, maybe. now that he's got those 3 existing wins, the number's been had. Maybe it's just that situation where I can't fucking beat this guy. And who knows? I mean, you never want to say that. Of course, every fight there's a big chance on both sides. But at this point, you have that conversation. Now, you factor in Volk getting horribly knocked out back to back. Maybe that changes things. And maybe he wouldn't be able to handle that uppercut that Holloway hit him with, or that head kick that Holloway hit him with.
Maybe. He did drop him twice in the second fight, right?
Yeah. So maybe those scenarios, after Volk's taken this punishment, could spell a different result. But it's interesting to think about. I agree. I'd like to see it a 4th time. The question would be, will the UFC want to make it? I mean, guy's 0-3 against him. Wouldn't that be the worst thing ever, though, right? If Holloway does achieve all this, comes back down, and then Volk beats him a 4th time?
Knocks him out? Knocks him out?
One hand, yeah.
Oh, my God.
That'd be tricky. I think that'd be pretty tough for the UFC to equate and justify it. But
how... Oh, but that's what makes it the greatest sport in the world, that could very well happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's what makes it the greatest sport in the world, because there's no MMA math whatsoever.
None. And people love to play that game. And so unless you're...
All of us get caught up in it at one point.
It's hard not to, man.
Right?
It's hard not to, especially if you have a fight where in that 3rd matchup with Volk put it on him. I mean, it wasn't close. And so then you would go, oh, Ilia Topuria just walked through him, and Volk did that to Holloway. You can't help but try and connect the dots. But like you said, the beauty of it is nothing fucking matters. Conor could come back and wipe away Michael Chandler, and everyone would be like, you know what I mean? I don't think that's going to happen.
Give him the 165 belt.
Why? Why? It's like, it's a conversation people have had for years, and nothing has ever changed. There's been no moves to actually develop that weight class. I don't know. It's one of those things, like fighter pay, for instance. Everyone whines about fighter pay, and I whined about fighter pay for a considerable amount of time. I'm like, these guys got to get paid more. And then you see an opportunity for them to get paid more. And from my understanding, they selected a different pathway. Well, then for me, I'm going to go, well, then why am I whining about fighter pay? If you're not concerned about it, and you're the fighter, I'm not going to give a shit. Fight for your own fucking pay. If I see you actively banging on the doors, hey, we deserve more, or this is fucked up in this fashion, I can join that maybe. But I'm like, you guys had a pretty compelling case, and then chose a different path.
Why do you think that is?
It's a really interesting question.
Not everything's out there yet. Not all the information has been released. And more than likely, because we'll never know, the NDAs have been signed.
It'll get locked away, and we'll never. So it's all speculation.
It'll all be speculation for the rest of the time.
And I can't pretend to be an expert or on top of even the stuff that's out there, right? So I'm speaking from a bit of an ignorant place, which is never great. But I think that it was a situation where if they settled at that point, everyone got a nice chunk of change. It was like, what, 6 figures payout for everybody? And so that instant gratification was what they had wanted. Plus, from what I understand, they would have had to refile everything. It would have taken 5 more years. And the legal system is wacky in the sense where it just takes forever, you know? And if they didn't want to wait that long, they didn't want to wait that long. I know that one of those cases had been like issued way back in like 2013 or some shit. So it already been a very long time. So I don't know, to answer the question. That's my thoughts on how I'm trying to draw the lines here. But, you know, you come away from it, and when the dust settles, you go, I'm not going to complain about fighter pay anymore.
Right.
Like, it's not like Luke Thomas is having that same battle where he's publicly spoken on his YouTube and Twitter and whatnot several times where he's like, I have to stop fucking talking about it. He's like, if the fighters aren't going to do things about it, it's a wasted breath for me to worry about it. And I believe Luke's on the money with that one. As sad as it is, right?
What do you make of, so recently Jamahal Hill's come out, right, talking about their fight with Alex Pereira and the whole waving off the ref, Alex closing that space, and he wouldn't have let Alex ever get that close to him if they would have had a proper reset or restart and separation. Yeah. What do you make of all of that? I mean, do you think that would have made a difference in the fight?
They did have a proper restart. You know, they touched it, hand fighting again. Jamahal throws the left, gets countered. The same scenario happened in the fight he had with OSP, where he threw that same kick, glanced down the cup, Vince St. Preux waves off the ref a little bit, and they keep going, and they go right back to hand fighting. It's the same fucking situation.
Right.
And, Chael made a video talking about how, this has never happened before, and, that would absolutely jostle a fighter. And he did make a really good analogy that I like, which was, Jamal's an automobile. He didn't come to a stop, but he took maybe 20, 30 miles per hour off, which I'm like, okay, fair. Like, he definitely relaxed a little bit. But it's happened before. Demetrius Johnson, same sitch. John Dodson kicked him, and DJ said, no, let's get right back into it. So it's not something that's first time ever in UFC history. We can't play that card. That's gone. Jamal's saying, I wouldn't have let him get that close if it didn't occur. That card's gone, in my opinion, because if you look at the past fights, when he's doing that hand fighting, it's kind of that same range. And even before that kick had occurred, he was getting cut off, right? He was getting cornered on the cage. So I'm like, if this was, we're up, this is the octagon. We're in the center, that happens, different story. But like the fight's progressing, and then you get kicked over here, real estate's already gone. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And again, like if you look at it, he fired the straight left. It's not like they go boom, and then he gets bonk. It's boom, there's a beat, hand fighting, and then straight left, and gets countered. Now, I think Alex did play a sneaky trick of stepping on his foot. Unsure if that was intentional or not.
I try to do stuff like that. I do that on purpose. So I'm almost for certain. And if you're not stepping on it, like stepping right outside of it,
getting the angle.
Exactly.
So that's the big question that a lot of people had was Jamahal Hill's footwork is not elite level. It's simply not. Miguel Class did a great little clip that just highlighted his footwork, and you could see it's very, I don't want to say substandard because I don't want to be too disparaging, because Jamal's a fantastic fighter. He's gonna bounce back. I think he can become a champion again, but the footwork is one of those things where I'm just like, that's not up to snuff. And then you take one of the best strikers that we're probably going to see at that weight class, who is elite in pretty much every regard on the feet. It's just, I didn't feel like that fight was going to be Jamal's. I think if you ran that 10 times with the context, the build-up, everything, I think Jamal wins it maybe twice or 3 times. That's how confident I am in Jamal. In Alex Pereira. Jamal had the Achilles tear. I don't know if you've had an Achilles tear, know people with it, but like, that's like a year-long recovery. You need 12 months before you can even get back to training.
Right.
That's what Tim Welch's surgeon said. 12 months, and then you can start some strength and conditioning. That fight was 9 months out from the Achilles tear.
Oh my God.
And it was on short notice. Jamal had, 2-3 days notice before the announcement and before all of that really snowballed up. We know Jamal outside of camp isn't exactly the most disciplined. That's fair to say. And then you tack on the fact that he's got this court case, the domestic violence stuff going on with his brother.
Right.
That's got to be immensely frustrating and stressful in his personal life. You ball all that together, and then you put it across fucking Alex Pereira, who knew he was going to be on this event. He was training for this, right? It just wasn't a good recipe for success. And I'm bummed because I understand you can't turn down that opportunity, I guess, right? It's main event UFC 300. It's a title shot. It's a guy who is aging and looks slower maybe, and defensively hasn't ever been the most responsible. If I'm Jamal, I'm thinking I can absolutely clip this guy. Adesanya did it, I can fucking do it. I get the decision making. I just don't think it was the smartest thing. I didn't think it was the smartest thing leading up to it, and in retrospect, it wasn't the smartest thing. He should have waited till the Achilles tear healed completely, and then taken a fight like maybe a Nikita Krylov, right, where it's a little bit, top 5, top 6, and someone that I would say is a little bit, maybe, I don't want to say easier, because Nikita's a great talent, but it's not Alex Pereira.
Right. I guess that's where it gets hard as well with the UFC, though, right? Because you don't turn down title fights in the UFC, right?
They get that blacklist, right, and you're gone.
They'll do everything in their power to never have you fight for one ever again. Yeah. So if he has to go through, oh my gosh, what gauntlet would they put him through to get back there again? Ankalaev.
Right. You're not getting a Johnny Walker again, right?
No, you're probably going to have to go through Yuri again if Yuri stays up there.
Yeah. So it was a very impossible situation for Jamal to be in, and I don't know. I think coming out of it, he's maybe just taken not the best I don't know, I feel like not the best lessons away. You have to be accountable. You have to kind of own up to it and be like, you know what, I got beat. Looking back on it, I got beat. It happens, right? But I feel the way that he's spoken about the fight since then, it just doesn't feel like he's taking the right things away. And I'm concerned that that's going to plague him in his next fight. Or the one after that. Him taking the Khalil Roundtree fight is stupid. I'm sorry. I think that's a really stupid decision. I don't know what his team or the people around him, I don't know why the fuck they would say, hey, you just got knocked the fuck out. Let's take on a hard hitter. Another very violent individual. That's number 8. So if you lose this one, boom, you're outside the top 5. Back-to-back knockout losses. You're going to get fed at that point, right? So I just don't think it's smart. Again, heal. Fuck, you TKO'd. Heal. Come back later in the year. And it's another situation where it's a Conor card, co-main event. I get it, but like, at what cost, man? And again, I'm speaking in the sense of if he loses. He comes in there, TKO's Khalil, which is, I mean, I don't want to say it's likely, but he's got a good chance. I mean, we've seen Khalil lose before. And even in that Anthony Smith fight, Anthony had some really good fucking moments. But I really don't want to see, and people will be like, why is Ben saying this? I really don't want to see Jamahal lose. I think he's a great talent, and I want smarter decision making. Yeah. Right? That's all.
I want to see Jamahal Hill fight as his best. That's basically it.
I want to see everyone fight their best. I want to see all these fucking fighters come in and be the best versions of themselves, which I get is impossible. Everyone's dealing with injuries. Everyone's dealing with something. But at this level, you can't afford those types of losses.
Right.
Look at Volk, man.
That's exactly what I was thinking about.
Bad decision making. Horrible decision making.
The Islam fight on short notice.
Yeah.
The Topuria fight coming back so early from the knockout. Those two decisions, oh man, changed the course of his career.
Absolutely. And what's crazy,
changed his legacy.
And what's crazy is, like, we're sitting here, if he had gone out there and beaten Topuria, right, whole other timeline, whole other schools of thought that would be born, and we'd be saying that's why he's the greatest, and we'd be praising him. I get that that's the flip-flop, right, and that's the both sides of it, but unfortunately we're just in a reality where it's not panning out for these guys.
But they've got to be, man, their team has to do better. And they have great teams behind them. They let them great through their careers. But even in that scenario, if they would have just given him an extra month or 2 months, if that would have been the main event at UFC 300, that would have been perfect for Volk.
Would have been great for Volk. And I think it would have been a fitting UFC 300 main event, potentially, right? Honestly, I felt like Holloway and Gaethje should have been the main event. I wouldn't have minded. And now people are going to get upset, and I saw this rhetoric, oh, BMF is above an actual UFC title fight. I get that. But it's fucking Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
It's hard.
It's hard.
I get it, but...
It's hard, but come on. I mean...
maybe I'm getting old. Maybe I'm getting old because I'm a Max Holloway guy through and through. That's he in my mind now overtaken BJ Penn as the greatest Hawaiian fighter of all time.
Yeah, it's hard to disagree with, and I want to ask you this: if BJ didn't maybe tarnish the legacy by doing what he did, would that thinking be changed?
It's too big of a what if, because if he would have stayed with the Marinovich brothers, for example, and stayed with that conditioning program, I don't think he would have ever lost. I think he genuinely could have been the first, like, defending 155 and defending 170 until, like, the evolution started to come around. Maybe, like, the Reebok deal around then. He would have had to relinquish that 70 belt. And his body would have probably changed it as well, and he would have looked even better at 55. He might even looked okay at 145 and not like a worn down old man.
Yeah. Look at Aldo going to 35 after the featherweight career.
Exactly. But and now after getting to 35 for a little bit, and he looks great at 35.
Oh yeah. It's one of those things where you go, why wasn't he here earlier? Right? But I think that's one of the things that made Frankie Edgar so special. Is that was a guy that, like, you could almost make the argument he could probably get to 125 at one point, right? With that size and frame, you would think, oh, this dude's he's winning a fucking lightweight belt, having wars at lightweight. I had this, because I started following 2017, which is pretty late, And after going back and watching people's careers and trying to educate myself on the history, you watch what Edgar did, and you have such a completely different perspective on him. Because then you look at the fights like the Sandhagen fight, or the I'm trying to think of another one where he got disgustingly knocked out before he retired. But like that last couple batch of fights where it wasn't Frankie, you know. And that's the weird thing that some fans have. They only see 5% of a fighter's career, and they've got this entire opinion about that, but they don't really educate themselves on what made that person so special in the first place, right? So, I don't know. But that's why some fans fucking suck these days.
I would say most do, right?
It's a really weird era of people that enjoy this sport. And like, there's so many different reasons. And you could get into it from like the political angle and the sense of how, you know, if we're putting people cage side that are of a certain belief or following, that's going to attract that audience. It's just what happens. If we put, let's say for instance, a big Bollywood star, we'd get a bunch of Bollywood fans and like that guy's audience, and they might start becoming mixed martial arts, right? It's one of those things, and we've just gone political for a bit now. And not saying anything in any way, shape, or form, because I don't fucking care. It doesn't matter. But it is kind of interesting that there is a correlation almost, I would say, with getting one demographic of fans in, and then the toxicity of the entire space increasing.
What demographic of fans do you think that is?
I don't want to say.
In my mind, it's almost like as you get more casual, more dumb fans, more ignorant fans, more generally the successful your sport is getting.
Yes.
The more growing your sport's doing.
Absolutely.
And now, like, I mean, you think about the guys that like talk shit on Sundays about football players in the NFL.
Yeah.
Well, what is he doing? Oh, that's nothing. I'd carry the ball for 15 yards. I would have caught that.
What a dumb playmaking by fucking Mike McDaniels. I would have made a better play. Yeah.
Now you're seeing these guys talk the same shit in MMA, and it's
which is almost what we've wanted for years, I guess. Right? Is that mainstream, pros and cons of that. But then I almost view it from the standpoint of, well, why are we in the fucking Apex then? To me, it is horrible that we are doing over half of all UFC events inside the Apex now. And when you look back at highlights and they run those packages of fighters' finishes or big moments, and it's just in this empty warehouse and there's no sauce, there's no fucking vibe. If I'm a newer fan and I'm watching this, I would be like, well, this isn't like
this is small time
sport. Exactly. This is, tiny. Like MMA is at its best when they're bouncing around, doing different cities, exposing different audiences.
Gosh,
and
why don't they do that?
Site fees. I think 100% it comes down to the operational expenses of it. And, I get it. It is a lot of money to travel. And if a city is not willing to pay X amount to make it worth it, because you've got the Middle East where they're willing to shell out $25 million for one UFC event. I think it was like $16 million for the Yas Island events, or something like that. And Atlanta can't do that. Phoenix maybe can't do that as consistently. And so instead, I think they just go to the warehouse and they go, the Apex, we don't have to pay all the travel. And because we're not getting these insane site fees that make it worth our while, we're just not going to do it. I think they're at a point where like the product has such a established fan base that'll watch no matter what, that they're like, we don't really need to try as hard anymore. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't need to be as innovative or go to certain lengths to appease because the viewership's not going to be affected. Right?
But wouldn't that cause like a stalemate in the growth of the sport?
Long term, absolutely. I think long term for sure. 10, 15 years, like I think all these decisions and all these Apex events are going to be costly, and I think it's going to be the forever thorn in why MMA is not considered among NFL, NBA, MLB.
Oh my God, because that doesn't make sense to me why they wouldn't just get or even do a rental of a venue or even build their own venue of a 5,000 seater or 7,000 seater or something like that.
I don't get it. T-Mobile, do T-Mobile, more consistently, right? And people will flock to Vegas for certain fights and fighters, and I don't know. I'm like, you could probably do that arena.
Or even, don't the Aces have a stadium now with that, or arena that's like
in Vegas,
6,000?
there's tons of fucking places. Exactly. T-Mobile's one spot of many in Vegas. So,
I mean, think of all the events they used to have at like the Hard Rock and like all those smaller venues that are like 1,000, 2,000, like theater sizes. They could go to a small arenas, like you said, and have those weekly shows, and it would just make it feel like a bigger event.
I think
they'll sell out.
You could have done Contender Series on the road. You didn't have to do Contender Series in the Apex anymore, I don't think. I feel that show's at a point where you're 6-7 seasons in, and the fans would be like, oh, UFC level fights, 2,000 seat arena. You think if they put that in a congested city that they wouldn't be able to sell it out? You know what I'm saying? But again, I think that gets into the operational expenses of traveling and housing everybody there and the transportation side of things. And it's complicated, but I think on the road is the best bet for MMA long term. And because there's no other big players in town, it's everything the UFC does, or a lot of things the UFC does, I think you could just directly connect it to MMA as a sport. Which is weird because you just don't see that in other sports. If the Timberwolves were doing one thing, that's one team, part of a larger ecosystem. You know, if it does good, does bad, it's not going to affect basketball as a whole. If UFC does some shit and it goes horrendously wrong, that could really affect MMA. Right. So it's such a weird position, and again, you just sort of sit back and go, I wish there was a stronger number 2 promotion or a co-leader in the space, I would say. But because as much as I love PFL, you know, you look at some of the reception and maybe the lack thereof sometimes, and you're just like, this is not hitting to the level that they maybe need it to be on that same playing field, which they've been around for 7 years, 6 years. UFC's been around 30 plus years. I get it, but
what do you think that is? It's just is it because it's not the one? Because I mean, if you look at football, right? Like we do have the USFL or UFL that's out now, right?
XFL or whatever. Yeah, that was there.
It's somewhat popular. Like it's a good like dose for like the football junkies that can't get enough of it. But I'm not watching it honestly. I'll catch highlights. I've got buddies that are playing in it, so I'll try to catch them playing when I can, and I'll watch their highlights. But I'm not catching a USFL game or a UFL game.
I don't even know what those channels are on. You know what I mean? What those are on. I think that's partially because with football, you've got Monday, you've got Thursday, and then Sunday, right? I'm not a huge football fan, so I don't know the schedule. That's a lot of football, you know what I'm saying? And multiple games throughout the day. With UFC, we get like one card a week.
But the cool thing is we have it throughout the whole year.
True, there isn't a season.
We have it throughout the whole year.
47 weeks of the year we get UFC cards, which is great.
A UFC card can be 7, 8 hours, 9 hours sometimes. You know, like the great cards.
True, very true. No, you make a fair point. So.
Oh, I'm not complaining about it. I love it. I'm there for the whole thing.
Yeah, dude. First prelim, fucking end of the main event.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, Sundays they do capture people's whole days. They're watching 3-4 games a day at 3 hours apiece, right? That's 9 hours, 10 hours, somewhere around there. So there's a parallel there. It's just, I don't know. How do you grow the MMA to that next level? How do you? I don't know if it's getting a number 2. Is I guess what I'm saying.
Well, I think the UFC has an ability to create certain things that would help. You know what I mean? I think if there was a revised approach to The Ultimate Fighter, if maybe there was just some evolution in that show, it could be big. Remember, I mean, that's what saved the UFC way back in 2005. Why is it such a stale afterthought these days? You know, where nobody really has much buzz about The Ultimate Fighter. And it kind of doesn't seem like the UFC does either. Think, you had Conor McGregor hosting for a season. And no one really cared. Your biggest star can't even move that needle. That tells me that something's inherently wrong with the product. You know, and you need to maybe change and evolve it a bit more.
Right.
If Conor McGregor can't move the needle on something.
My only devil's advocate on that season was he wasn't really there, and it was kind of awkward at times, right? Like
that's fair,
it was like, hey, where's Conor at? I thought Conor was the coach this season.
Imagine you were one of his fighters, and you're like getting your ass beat. You head back to the end of round 1 in the stool, and you're sitting down going, "Hey, Conor, man, like, what do I got to do?" You look over, he's gone. Where the fuck's he? He's
in the corner pitching somebody.
Yeah. He's doing an interview. Business call. Fucking John Kavanaugh's just like, yeah, Conor's got some stuff to do, man. But round 2, what I want you to do, like, no, I agree with you. In that sense, it was a weird season.
It was really weird. You just woke up one day and Conor's like, I'm making soup.
Yeah. I'm taking you guys to dinner.
We're going to dinner, guys.
It's like a stepdad who's never there, and then he comes back with like Christmas presents in July, and you're like, dude, how about you take me to school? Like, how about we play catch, man? And he's like, all right, I gotta go. That was Conor McGregor's Ultimate Fighter season, and then they all lost. I mean, they.
Oh God.
Who was the one guy that even won? Was it
Katona?
But Brad wasn't even on his team, I think. Wasn't that the whole thing? Brad was like on mics and then he maybe switched over.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's anytime you're getting your ass beat on the Ultimate Fighter and you need to pick like a solid prospect from the other team so you can start winning, that's when you know.
That was another thing too. They tried to freshen up the Ultimate Fighter, right? But their new like veterans versus
horrible idea.
That was a bad idea.
Pick worse veterans. Don't pick guys that just got released a year and a half, 2 years ago, and have gotten
guys that could literally
wins.
Still be on the roster
that
currently.
Should be still. Austin Hubbard just won yesterday. Like,
dude,
you know, it was a really bad idea. And what's crazy is some of those prospects were pretty legit prospects. Lee Hammond had a lot of steam behind him. Rico Discolio, I think I'm mispronouncing that, but I knew about him. I'd seen some of his regional scene fights. He had some steam to him. So that was just a really bad gimmick for the season. And why did Conor even end up choosing the rookies? Was that his choice or?
I believe it was ego. It was his choice, but I believe it was ego.
Because he was like, I'm that good. And
yeah, I'm going to take these young guys to the top.
Yeah, what a bad idea. And then first fight in, 8-second knockout from Roosevelt Roberts.
Dude, it just kept going downhill.
It was crazy. And what's wild is, so that was Nate Jennerman that got knocked out in 8 seconds. I called Nate's return to mixed martial arts, his first fight after the Ultimate Fighter, which was on, I believe, APFC 8 or 9. And it was against this guy named Rhino Alcox. Rhino Alcox was 8-11 as a professional. This was... You know what this fight was. It was, let's get Nate back on track. Nate gets dropped 3 times in the first round. Dude, he was getting floored. And round 2 seemed like he was doing a little bit better, but like, I was looking at his legs, but I'm sitting there cage side, I'm like, his legs are not there. Round 3, he's coming alive. I'm like, all right, he's looking more steady. Gets this insane comeback guillotine, and I was like, that's fucking great. But the problem is, you got dropped 3 times by a guy who's 8-11 and did not have a corner. His whole thing this week was religion. He was like, God has chosen me. Which anytime you're fighting that guy, good luck. You know, you don't want to take on the high-level Christian fighter, you know, because you need to shoot him to beat him.
Yeah, basically.
But yeah, that was a funny thing with Nate, because like that whole week, man, it was just like, this is the return, this is the comeback, and then a couple minutes into the first round, it's just, and I'm sitting there like, oh no, you know.
What are you looking forward to in combat sports right now? What are the big storylines that excite you?
Big storylines that excite me. I think Tyson Fury versus Usyk is something I'm interested in. It's a fight that we've wanted to see, that should have occurred, and almost attached to that is what Francis Ngannou does next. At his advanced age, it'll be really curious to know what moves he makes. Will he go to the PFL and take on Renan Ferreira, who is, I mean, a monster? I mean, that's almost a lose-lose almost, in the sense where he doesn't have a high profile, right? So if you beat him, people are going to go, you beat a nobody, you beat, you know, even though he's like a pretty legit PFL fucking product, a champion in the PFL. But then if Ngannou loses, that might be it. If you get beat by Renan in the PFL, the whole, I feel, world is just going to be like, well, that's it, you know?
Right.
Because, like, look at what they did when he left the UFC. Trashed his name, dragged his reputation through the fucking mud, took shots at him every chance that they could, proved him wrong, but then you lose to Joshua in the fashion that you did, right? And people get back on that same train and they go, oh, put some more coal in the fucking Ngannou hate fire. He finally lost. He shouldn't have been doing this. Like, people love to discredit and tear him apart. So I'm like, with that, like, baggage and knowledge that people are going to try and do that, what do you do next, right? Because anything you do, people are going to try and criticize. And if you lose again, it's going to be, I mean, not that it really matters what the public perception is, I would say, but, you know, you want to win.
Right. It's almost like from that perspective, though, it's like, do you think he's got that much of an advantage over, I can't pronounce his name.
Henin, yeah.
Henin?
I would say he should have a huge wrestling upside. You know, what Ngannou did to Cyril Gane was beyond impressive. And granted,
one leg.
Yeah, one leg, and it aged a little bit worse because of what John Jones did to Gane. You know, and Ngannou's performance, you look back and go, but like that level of wrestling should be able to take out Henin. That's what's kind of caused him some issues inside the PFL. But that is legit one-punch knockout power that Henin has, just as good as Francis Ngannou. Right? And so now you're coming off of a brutal KO at like 37, 38, getting back in there. Maybe you're slower. Maybe you're a little bit more gun shy. Remember what happened when he lost to Stipe the first time? He fought Derek Lewis and didn't throw anything for 15 minutes. You do that against a guy like Henin, who is going to come forward, who is going to pressure, and isn't afraid to throw. You could get knocked out horribly again. So he's got the tools, I think, to beat Henin. I would favor him heavily. I believe he's like a minus 500 favorite on DraftKings right now because they do those like future projection odds. But Henin's not a fucking easy fight. And because the public doesn't know who he is, doesn't make him an easy fight.
So would you say, more than likely, if you were Francis's team, go back to the boxing route, suck everything you can money-wise first?
Oh, dude, give me Deontay Wilder. Where is Deontay?
Right.
That's the move.
Because even if you lose to him, right,
doesn't
you
matter.
still
you
have
get
the
like
MMA.
$50 million.
There we
Yeah,
go.
and then you can come back to MMA if you even want to at that point. Like, I don't think.
But where if he lost to Henin in MMA in a PFL, that boxing's not going to be there anymore.
No, and that's kind of the beauty of getting knocked out by a guy like Anthony Joshua. If you want to get stopped by somebody, you do it against the former undisputed heavyweight champion in the boxing world, right? Like, it's not like I'm losing to a scrub. I'm losing to the number 1, number 2 ranked guy. So I think he still has some legs and some air left in the boxing sales. And considering how Deontay looked pretty bad and lost his last fight, I think that for both sides, that makes so much sense. Hardest hitter in boxing, hardest hitter in MMA, clashing. That sells. It'd be massive. And then I think Francis can decide what he wants to do. But time's ticking. You're not young. And granted, neither is Deontay, but you're not young. So,
what do you think Justin Gaethje does next?
Oh, like he said, time off. Like he said, 6 months of fucking nothing. Rest, recover. I think people maybe, I don't want to say are going to forget how good he is, but the Rafael Fiziev fight was not that long ago, and Justin looked pretty damn good in that one. Now, just because you get outclassed pretty much every exchange and sequence by Holloway doesn't mean you're not one of the top in the world. Again, the Dustin Poirier fight.
He just knocked out the guy.
Just TK'd him in July.
He could literally become the champion within the next couple of months.
Oh, yeah.
And Justin Gaethje knocked him out within a year ago.
Knocked him out bad. Dustin hadn't been stopped like that since the Michael Johnson fight, which was, I believe, 2016.
Gosh.
I mean, it was a long time ago. So, I don't know. I think Justin needs to take a lot of time off. If Beneil Dariush is interested later in the year. Dariush?
Oh, he still fights?
Yeah, watch it! We respect Beneil in this household. But if I'm Gaethje's team, if I'm Trevor Whitman, I look at Beneil's lack of durability these days and I go, that's exactly who I would want. And no disrespect, but like we've seen Beneil get sparked out by Barboza. We saw him get sparked out by Alex Hernandez back in the day. Arman Tsarukyan just did him poorly. Charles Oliveira was able to bust through and get him. If I'm Trevor Whitman, I go, that's a top 10 lightweight. That's a highlight reel knockout that we could probably create and generate. So I would go for that maybe. I think there's some value in the Renato Moicano train if I'm Trevor Whitman, because as much as I like Moicano, and that guy's as funny as you could possibly be, he's doing it, like what we were talking about earlier with branding, Renato Moicano is doing it perfectly. Dropping all that economic wisdom, whether we agree or disagree with his thoughts on inflation, the whole economics world exploded because they were like, who's talking about our shit in the UFC? This guy? We love this guy, you know?
Shout out to Show Me the Money Pod, Maddie Betts.
Dude. Straight up.
Home of the Fight, shout out to the whole team.
Home of the Fight, great. Maddie's fucking fantastic. They're doing everything right. And Renato is locked in right now. But it was not that long ago that he was stopped by the Korean Zombie. It wasn't that long ago that he was stopped by Fiziev. And I think when you look at the Drew Dober fight, what you realize, and even the Jalen Turner fight to some extent, on the feet, Renato maybe is still not at the level that a lot of these other guys are. The grappling's gotten better. I think his grappling is tremendous. But if you can stop that, what does Renato have? So if I'm Gaethje and Trevor Whitman, I would say, hey, we have been taken down how many times in the UFC? We've been held down how much in the UFC? Oh, barely? Give me the guy that's going to try and grapple, and we're going to take his head off. That would probably be my approach as well. Top 10 lightweight. I'm not sure if he is actually, but top lightweight, on a bit of a tear, has a lot of steam to him. Take that kid's head off, and we're fucking right back in. You know, if I was a coach, that would be how I would try and position things. But this is why I probably shouldn't be a coach.
Talking about your expertise when it comes to fighting.
Oh, no.
When is your next either fight or boxing match?
Like, dude, I've been asking. I've been wanting to fight.
What's the hardest part of finding you a fight?
I think the hardest part is right now I'm a little bit more selective than I was in August. You know, I did not mind taking on a Mount Everest type of challenge an opponent in Gabe Silva because I needed to get my foot in the door, and that was an opportunity I couldn't refuse, right? But now I have a renewed perspective on it and different priorities, and I want to win, right? So I feel I need to be matched up a little bit more fairly and someone that's more in my skill wheelhouse, and that's where the challenge has, I think, occurred, is finding that right dance partner for me. Because I've had a couple suggestions, and Mams, for instance, you know, we've got one guy who I want to fight. His name's B-Dave. He's a great dude, but that's a fight that makes so much sense. He's 2-2 in Misfits. He just had a main event back in November. And he's a brawler. Like, that kid comes to fucking play, but not the best boxer in the world. No disrespect to him, right? So I think that makes sense. But that is later in the year. I need someone who is, I don't want to say pushover, but listen, we know in combat sports you got to get built up. You got to get tuned up a little bit. I kind of want that experience because for me, business is best if Bane's winning, almost to my perspective. I would view it from that sense because I'm like, if I'm providing, you know, some stuff on the on-air team, if I'm attached to the product as a host of the press conference, as a host on this news channel on YouTube, I'm in the brand. Let's have me win, right? Wouldn't that be best for everybody? So I get a nice knockout in a couple months, hopefully. B. Dave's front row, do a segment with him, build that fight, and then boom, fight him later in the year. And then I think that would be it for me. I think that would probably be enough competition because I don't know if I could beat B. Dave. Like, genuinely, it's a hard fight. He's tough as fuck. And for me, it's like, if I lose again, that's kind of it. I can't squeeze any more juice out of the competition thing.
So who would be that very next fight in the next couple of months before Dave?
The person that makes the most sense is BetrDerek.
BetrDerek!
It's fucking BetrDerek. It's still BetrDerek. It's still that piece of shit that works for Jake Paul, who I still, to this day, don't understand what he does. What do you do outside of yelling for 9x16 clips for social media? Outside of being a nuisance when Jake Paul has a podcast appearance, showing up and taking your shirt off and, I'm going to fight you, and then losing in the parking lot. What do you do? Right? Like, I genuinely, it's irritating. And because I know he fucking sucks at boxing, I'm like, yo, kid, we'll give you 30 grand. I will give you $30,000 to come fight. I knock you out. You get respect for stepping in the ring. I get a nice win. You get a paycheck.
Nice clips, right?
Everyone gets a good clip. You know what? Like, the clip of me getting knocked out, ESPN put it up, and it got like 9 million views. You know what I mean? So I'm like,
That's
yes.
awesome.
Yeah.
Dude, that's awesome.
I'm like, yeah, it sucked that I'm getting knocked out, dude, but I'm like, it's a cool clip. And,
You made it on ESPN, dude.
Made it on ESPN.
Did you ever think you'd make it on ESPN?
I made it on a couple times before that.
Okay.
For better things. But like that's my rationale on it is he has no reason to not fight me. What reason? You know, you get more exposure, you get some good money. Who knows? If you put up a good fight, Misfits would probably have him back, right? And then you know, I don't know. I just like I don't get why. And this is because I'm the ultimate opportunist, right? I don't get why someone wouldn't take an opportunity like that. Because if I was in those shoes, I would be like, yes, sign me up. Do something that nobody else is doing for how much money? Come on. But yeah, so BetrDerek's the logical guy, but because he seems to be a bitch, now we're just in that limbo of cultivating it. And I've had other conversations outside of Misfits.
We talked about homo fight. That reminds me of my buddy Hayden.
Okay.
Hey Jive. Not a pushover, but I think that would be like a firework fight.
How much does he weigh?
Ooh, that's a good point. He might.
He's a huskier guy.
He might. Well, he played receiver in college, but he's lifting weights.
He's a whoa! I don't want to fight a college athlete, dog. I just said I want a fucking tune-up. I don't want a D1 wide receiver. Are you fucking kidding me? No.
To be fair, he went to D3, but it was like a D3 that wins like all the national championships. So they're like basically a high level D2.
He's like, I ran for 3,000 yards and had 98 touchdown carries. But yeah, that's my tune-up. No, thank you, dude.
That would be a crazy fight.
Yeah, it would be fun. But yeah, Misfits, that's one, like again, Stokes in the Fire, that's one competition. I have talked with Karate Combat a lot. I've had a few meetings with them about fighting. There might be some stuff in July.
And you've even been out in Thailand with Fight Circus.
Fight Circus.
Dude, that was, oh my God, that clip was so hilarious.
Of the fat dude where he's taking the...
No, the one with you and David. With the knockout.
Oh, yeah, dude. King David, baby.
Shout out to King David.
Shout out to Dong Master, dude.
Dong Master, 3,000.
Did you guys fucking grill him about that shit at the gym?
Not at all.
No? Oh, man.
I love it, dude.
I wouldn't let him live it down. Every time I see him, like, hey, what's up, Dong? You know? But no, and Thailand was really cool. You know, I like Phuket a ton. It's a bit humid, admittedly, but like training at Tiger Muay Thai, training at Bang Tao, you just see that there is a way different form of living, especially when it comes to like physical fitness and health. Like those are just ridiculous compounds where it's a one-stop shop. You've got your food and shit like that. They've got the restaurants and the cafe. You've got all of the different bags and rings and trainers you could possibly ask for. You've got the BJJ mats. I mean, they've got at Tiger Muay Thai, they got a really cool BJJ section. And then you can fucking live there too. You know what I'm saying? Like there was a girl that we ran into that we actually used in the Fight Circus show, and she was just at Tiger Muay Thai training, and we were like, fuck, we need this girl that was actually David's like love interest. He was in this battle with a little guy named D'Lo, and she was like the love interest issue, but we couldn't find a girl. And so we're at Tiger Muay Thai, and we're like, hey, do you want to do it? And she was like, yeah, sure. And we were like, why are you here? And she's just like, I just wanted to come for a couple months, train. I'm like, that's fucking cool.
Wow.
You know, so it's, yeah. I don't know when that Fight Circus show is going to come out. I have no idea. I actually just texted the producer. I was like, hey man, like, do we have an update? And he's like, I'll get you something this week. And that was 2 weeks ago. so I don't think anyone's ever going to see David as Dong Master 3000, which sucks because it's so funny, dude.
Really?
Oh my God. Like
How wild was it? Because I mean, the production looks insane from social media.
Wild. And it was shot like a Hollywood movie, which
Really?
is very different from the Fight Circus show that I had taken part in before. Like this was, I mean, we're doing one take and then redoing it, and all day you're just blocking and shooting different things. It was crazy to be a part of. And David's part specifically is so funny. The accent that he does for it, I don't know if you've seen some of the clips that he put out to promote, but he does this stupid fucking accent. That's the funniest thing. So I hope that they release it just so I can make fun of David more.
How do you describe the accent?
I'll try and do it. It's basically he's wearing. So here, let me let me paint this picture. He's wearing this like red feather cape with leather pants. He's got this shitty blonde wig on, and he's like, "Dong Master's gonna take you to town." Like that's so fucking. I can't even describe it, dude. I was dying any fucking time, and he really picked up on.
Oh, the inflections are so cringy, dude.
It was so bad.
I love it,
but it was fun, man. I really hope that what Fight Circus is trying to do, I hope it clicks and takes off, because like that's another organization that I think could be as big as like a BKFC right now, where they're high tier, smaller level, and I would say even bigger. I think Fight Circus could be bigger than BKFC because it caters to a completely different audience, right? I think that's the beauty of a Fight Circus, is every matchup is something completely different. So I'm getting exposure to this demographic. I'm getting exposure to this one and that one and that one. Whereas with BKFC, it's like if you don't like bare knuckle, you're probably not gonna like the fucking product. But for Fight Circus, they have the ability to almost attract everybody. And then you're not even factoring in like the interstitials of like an aerial act or a musical act, or it's a lot. But when it works, you sit there and you go, this is high level entertainment. But David's at the top of that list.
What did I want to ask you before I got you out here? I know one was the UFC event that's going to be at the Mexican Independence Day at the
Sphere.
The Sphere.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to headline that? And how do you think that's going to work out, that show?
I don't know. I think it would make sense to do Alexa Grasso and Shevchenko there. I know they're doing the Ultimate Fighter season, and I feel because of that it could delay that fight. But to me, it makes sense to do that at the Sphere, given Alexa's heritage and considering. I mean, she's been one of the brightest Mexican stars in a minute, right? And if she can beat Valentina Shevchenko again and finish her again, that'd be ridiculous. I think. My boy Kelvin Gastelum has got to be up there. KDOGG has got to be there. I don't know. I think he's fighting D-Rod soon. But Kelvin, I'm trying to think. I want Brandon Moreno there, but Moreno didn't look all that fantastic against.
Moreno said he's going to take some time off, though, right?
Yeah. So if the timeline works out for September.
The thing, I believe that's going to be tough having the girls at the top of the card. Being at the Sphere, had Hayden, actually, Hey-Jive, shout out again. He dropped some of the ticket prices that are coming out for it.
Oh, shit.
Outrageous.
No.
Outrageous.
What are we talking for nosebleeds? What are we talking for nosebleeds?
I don't remember the exact section or even the price that he posted, but it was
crazy.
And we're talking 4 times the price of T-Mobile kind of thing.
No.
And parking's a whole nother story there as well. Everything is crazy at the Sphere. So to have a female heading
at
that card, that'd be rough, I believe.
Let's have 2 female fights headline the card. No. That's a great question. Well, you could put Yair Rodriguez up there against someone, but again, he's coming off of a loss, so why would he headline? And I say why would he headline as we just had Alex Perez and Mateus Nicolau. Alex on a 3-fight losing streak. Mateus knocked out last year and hasn't fought since. Yes, that should main event. That's a great question. I don't know. I would need to think more about the Mexican fighters. That Diego Lopez could, maybe.
The only thing that sucks...
Well, it's a pay-per-view, right?
Yeah. Time window. The time frame of it would be perfect for Max Holloway, Ilia Topuria. I can't remember the date, but I remember when I was looking at it.
But he's... Well, hold on.
None of them are Mexican.
He's from Spain.
None of them are Mexican. but they both speak Spanish. So
could you imagine they put that together and then on fight night someone says to Dana, "Hey, Spanish means from Spain, right?" And he's like, "What do you mean?" I thought Ilya was from fucking Coahuaca, Mexico, dog.
Oh man. But I think that's a weird pigeonhole that Dana put himself in with getting the Sphere on that date. Is that
it makes you kind of like how we did UFC Noche last year. It makes me frustrated that we can't do just a Mexico City card. Just head down there. If you're putting together a more Mexico-centric or Spanish-centric card, why not do it in one of the cities that makes sense? I mean, you're going to pack it out with that crowd and give them an opportunity to see their favorite fighters compete live. I don't understand siloing it at T-Mobile.
Yeah,
for
put
that
it
sort of
in El Paso or Los Angeles.
UFC El Paso, guys! In case you didn't know, we've got Raul Rosas on top now. But think about it. I mean, that's like how I was really annoyed that they did Zhang Weili and Yan Xiaonan at 300 because they could have easily done that in Beijing. They could have done that in Shanghai as a headliner, and I think it would have been appreciated a lot more. It was a beatdown, right? It was a great performance from Zhang, but because it was sandwiched between the BMF fight, the Jamahal Hill and Alex Pereira fight, and this entire stacked card, I think it got lost in the shuffle. And it was the first all-Chinese title fight in UFC history. Like, the significance of that matchup should have been showcased more. I was really sad that I don't think those two fighters got the platform that they deserved for that card. And I know, like, with China, it's maybe a bit challenging because they did Song Yadong and I think it was Chris Gutierrez, and they had to move that to Vegas for who knows what issue. So maybe there's stuff that I don't know about that's causing them obstacles. But like, I just sit there and I go, why the fuck would you not have this in a place where it would be a little bit more appreciated, right? So I don't know.
Well, that was the one thing about having the card out in China, right?
Yeah.
They were gonna have to wear the masks while they fight and everything, and
Yeah.
COVID's still a big problem out there.
Is it still?
Yeah.
Damn. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's fair. They had to wear it while they were fighting?
No, I mean.
Oh. I'm like, did you imagine the submissions? Paul Felder sitting cage side going, oh, he's got the submission there, and that's the mask sub. Like, dude, that'd be fucking.
Oh,
that'd
that's
be too
hilarious.
Much. Yeah.
Oh man. God. Anything else that you wanted to talk about, or anything that we missed? Anything that's sticking out to you in our favorite sport, MMA or the UFC?
Jose Aldo's back.
That's a crazy one, right?
Weird. Yeah, it's a weird fight because if he loses, I think it's going to really deflate UFC 301. I think everyone in Rio is going to be like, well, we just watched Aldo get leg kick TKO'd by a guy that doesn't have that mainstream appeal yet. And I think the fact that it was revealed that Dom Cruz was the opponent and then that had some complications. I mean, because, man, that would have been such a cool matchup for UFC 301, which desperately needed another 2 or 3 big fights. But, yeah, I don't know. I thought Jose Aldo was going to be boxing a lot more. And so the fact that he's back in MMA makes me go, oh, they put the truck up. They pulled the truck up, and they were like, here's a lot of money to come in.
Right.
But that being said, I do have Steve Erceg winning that fight.
That's going to be sad.
Why?
I don't even look. I'm leaning that way too, and I don't even want to think about it,
dude.
You should have just stayed away.
No. What are you talking about? He is the most like. I don't want to say this in a mean way, more of an amusement way. He looks bored 99% of the time. It looks like he fucking hates being here, and then he'll just go in and nuke Matt Schnell or like really put it on, Dvorak or Alessandro Costa. Like that dude jumps in the fire. Schnell tagged him. Alessandro tagged him. Pantoja's gonna tag him. Like the question's gonna be, can Steve eat that shit? Which I hope he can, man.
It's just a guy Steve fighting for the title is weird.
There's never been a UFC champion named Steve. I looked into it. There's never been one. The only guy was at UFC 3, and his name was Steve something, and he won like the tournament, but belts weren't introduced until UFC
No weight
11.
classes. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm like, there still has not been a UFC champion named Steve, and he has the opportunity to fucking do it, and I think that's tremendous. That's the only reason I'm voting for him.
I'm rooting for him solely for that reason now.
Exactly.
The first champion Steve.
And just the bored expression with the belt, fucking.
Boxing last thing before we get out of here. The Ryan Garcia Devin Haney fight. What did you think about just that whole lead up to the fight? That performance by Ryan.
I have the self-awareness to go, I was wrong. I was one of the people that was saying maybe this fight shouldn't happen. He looks mentally unstable. Who knows what condition he's in. And anytime someone's like just going on rants on social media and they're saying Bohemian Grove this and all the Illuminati that, you're just thinking to yourself, they're losing it. They're fucking losing it. And what happens? Shows up, looks fantastic. Looks tremendous. I mean, that was a beatdown, and I think Ryan fought so smart. He really, I think it was Teddy Atlas that had pointed this out, but like Ryan only fought in spurts. Like he would take some time off and then just blitz come in, and that left hook. I mean, I think that might be one of the best left hooks in boxing right now, just with the speed, the impact. And Devin Haney, come on, you know, I don't want to say I expected more, and I can't really criticize in any serious regard, but I think a lot of people were very surprised by how great Ryan did, and conversely how poorly Devin was expected to do. I mean, you beat Loma, you beat Regis, and look really good beating Regis. And then you get tuned up by what people thought was a crackhead. like, it just doesn't, I don't know. I mean, I did have a little bit of money on Devin Haney by decision. And so I'm just sitting there watching my tickets sizzle, and I'm like, oh, this wasn't my night, was it? So I don't know. The weight miss is, I would say, the biggest frustration, because if he didn't miss weight, if he came in on weight, now he's the fucking champ, king of the world. I think like that would have been one of, he's already a star, crank it up to the next level. But because of the weight miss, I think a lot of people, or at least a lot of serious people, are like, come on, it's part of the game. You
the purest of purists, yeah.
Exactly. Like, especially when your opponent makes weight. If you guys both miss weight, you come in both at 143, whatever. I mean, why did we do 140 then, right? But because Devin cut those extra pounds, and like, you and I both have a pretty good understanding of how frustratingly difficult weight cuts can be. The fact that Ryan chose not to do that, to have a bit of an unfair advantage, it is a sore spot. I am so happy that I was wrong and he put on such a great performance, but I'm not going to not say that that does deflate my, you know, positivity towards it. Because Devin fucking made that weight. Yeah. And then he got beat the fuck up. It's like...
I see, personally, I align with you there, but then when I received the information that he got it from Floyd Mayweather to not make that weight and to come in 3 pounds over... Well, remember Floyd came in 3 pounds over with, was it Marquez, I think, if I'm not mistaken?
I did see something about how Floyd,
If I'm not mistaken, he came in like 3 pounds heavy then.
Yeah.
And he told, I guess Ryan was actually talking to him about making weight and the weight cut and coming into the fight, and Floyd told him, come in heavy. Come in about 3 pounds heavy and you'll be fine. Because that's the amount of water that you wouldn't be able to replace. So get down to where you're around comfortable, stop. It'll be about 3 pounds heavy.
That still doesn't make it right.
No, you're right.
Just because Floyd Mayweather says something doesn't mean like
it's the right money. I guess it's the right money move.
Absolutely, in the sense of like, if he felt that confident he was going to win the fight and whatnot, then yeah, pay 1.5 million to come in heavy, because I think that's what it was, $500K a pound. And then if he bet $2 million on himself and walks away with 12, you do the math on it. Yeah.
What a gangster.
I imagine he lost.
Yeah.
Not only did you lose 1.5 for the weight cut, you lost 2 on the gamble, and now there's no.
But the balls to do it though.
Yeah.
Like Justin James.
Yeah, the Guitar Hero putting his entire paycheck. They're getting robbed. They're getting fucking robbed, dude. That was James's fight.
Yeah.
I was so annoyed, bro. I was like standing up, watching. I was like, dude, he did it. What a cool moment. And then he lost. And I was like, oh my God. That would have been in terms of like most terrible day after for a UFC fighter, Justin James has got to be bottom of the list for like, this is awful.
Dude, he's now in the commentating game heavy. Yeah,
over at Fusion, I think up in like Montana or something.
Yeah, and he's been doing a couple of Tough Enoughs out there now too in Vegas.
Yeah, I'd love to call it tough. I'd love to call it.
Really?
Play for Tough Enough. Yeah, I got drinks with I feel so
Jeff?
bad. No, the ring announcer. Justin Bernard. Great fucking guy. Oh my God, fantastic dude. And the funny thing about Justin is we were talking and he was like, dude, I'm kind of a casual. I don't really follow or watch the sport. And I'm like, what? You know, you're fucking doing ring announcing at a very high level on the UFC's platform. And he's like, yeah, man, I just don't really watch some of these. I don't have time. And I'm like, that's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to do play-by-play for Tough Enough. LFA is the one org where I'm like, whenever Ron Kruk wants to be done, I would love, I don't know how, you know, but those are the next steps in terms of MMA play-by-play, I think.
Yeah, even if they just started working you in on those, that'd be
Sideline reporting.
Yeah, that'd be
it'd be great.
Great chemistry, though. Honestly,
do anything, man.
Right?
Yeah. That's what I was talking about with my girlfriend last night about the pro bowling shit. Because like for the Fox and FS1 shows, again, the pathway to get there to me is unclear. I don't really know what boxes I need to check or if I'm doing things correctly. You never know if you do things correctly. You know in hindsight if it was the right move, right? But you don't know why you're doing it sometimes. So I'm like, maybe if they could just guarantee me, hey, we'll give you 3 minutes on the broadcast, a minute and a half in the open, a minute and a half in the close. We'll throw to you, give us your thoughts, amp it up. That's how we'll gel you in and slow roll it. Like that would be great. LFA, if they could do that, that'd be great. Any other bigger, promotion, that type of thing, I'd love. I wouldn't mind coming out and doing it for free. You know what I'm saying? But if they pay me, that'd be good.
Last thing before we get out, the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. What do you think about it?
I mean, it's pretty depressing when you think about it. Like, why is Mike doing this? The thing that a lot of people would probably jump to is money. They would say, oh, Mike needs money. That's why any combat sports guy comes back out for one of these cash grabs. I don't think Mike needs money. He's got a very successful podcast. It seems like he's doing great in his life. What is the motivation here? So, I don't know. At 58 years old, I think Paul's going to come in. He's huge. Jake Paul's big now. And I think he's going to knock Mike Tyson out in the first or second round. I'm sorry. I don't see the pathway to victory for a 58-year-old who has not boxed in, let's call it spade a spade, 20 years. The big thing that I think people don't really understand, because I've had this stupid conversation with people before. My fucking, one of my uncle's brothers was talking to me and he was like, Mike's gonna come in there and fucking knock him out. And I'm like, you're stupid. You are dumb. This guy, for the last 20 years, has lived his life in a manner that is not befitting of a combat sports professional. He's been deep in like the weed smoking, deep in the not training. I get that he had that exhibition in 2020. Guess what? He didn't look that great. Right? So you can't just wind back a 20-year clock. If this was maybe 2000 Mike Tyson, 2005 Mike Tyson, very, very different story. And even then, that's the tail end of the career Mike Tyson. Now we're tacking on 20 years of not competing. What the fuck is anyone that's betting on Mike Tyson, what is their rationale? Like, oh, he got that big right hand. No, he doesn't, dude. No, he's gonna get melted. And everyone likes to say, oh, but he's looking so good on the pads. If you watch those stupid fucking videos, it's cut every 3 seconds. They're editing the shit out of those videos. That video of him running, you see that video of him running? Like, no, he's dying, bro.
He's like a really mad toddler.
Dude, mad toddler when it's feeding time, bro.
Oh my God.
That's Mike Tyson. So, like, I have no confidence. And I've been very critical of Jake Paul's decision making, but I've been very complimentary about his actual skills because the dude is putting in the work and he is dedicating himself and he has all the resources in the world to bring in the best guys. You are inevitably, I fucked that word up. Inevitably.
I was like, what? Wait, what?
You are inevitably, you're inevitably going to get good at something if you put in the time and have the professionals around you that are elite at that skill. Most of the time, you can pick something up. If I was gonna say, okay, I've got fucking Dave Grohl, and I want to learn how to play guitar, and I'm gonna work with Dave every single fucking day for 2 years, I'm probably gonna get okay at playing the guitar. Jake Paul's been doing that, but with boxing since 2018. There's no legit way to discredit his ability. There's only a way to discredit his decision making. Right? It's the opponent selection. It's what you're choosing to say, how you're promoting and marketing this. I'm going to go be the best in the world. I'm going to go win a title. The decision making is where I have issue because if you want to do what you're saying, you're not taking the right steps, right? And so that's what frustrates me because I'm not saying he can do that. I'm just saying if you really want to do that, make better decisions. You know what I'm saying? I think if I was Jake Paul, after the Anderson Silva fight, what I would have done is continue fighting people like that. Continue fighting older, mixed martial artists, or maybe guys who are good mixed martial artists, legends, things like that. I wouldn't get into like the actual pro side of things because look at it. I don't want to say the viewership and the buzz isn't there anymore, but like Silva versus Paul had a lot of sauce on it. That was a big event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When he knocked Anderson Silva down, that was huge.
Yeah.
When he fought Ryan Bowerland, no one fucking cares. right? If I ask a lot of people who was Jake Paul's last opponent, they wouldn't even know, right? They'd probably be saying Nate Diaz.
Right.
They might even say Anderson Silva, you know? So I just think it's the decision making where I have an issue with it. But yeah, I mean, he's going to kill Mike Tyson. Long story long, Mike's dead.
Oh, man. I do think it's probably going to end that way, too. Like, somewhere around probably 3rd, 4th round if Mike makes it that far.
Yeah. But could you imagine, let's play hypothetical for a second. Could you imagine if Mike Tyson comes in there and sparks him out?
Oh, God.
What would even happen? Like, what would... Because it's not like Mike is going to start fighting again.
Yeah, and it's not even like it ends Jake Paul's career, because it's like, yeah, it was Mike Tyson.
Yeah, yes. So he's in a win-win. Mike's kind of a lose-lose.
Because I guess so, right?
Because the casual audience is not going to... I don't think the casual audience is going to think about it the same way that like I or maybe you would think about it. And so I guess if Mike wins, yeah, Jake gets to go, I got knocked out by one of the hardest punchers of all time. So
like you just said about the decisions he makes, that's an incredible business decision. Like,
until someone says, yeah, but he was 58.
But you're still... Not for us, like obviously logically for us.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a 58-year-old guy who hasn't boxed in 2 decades. But for the casual who doesn't know something... Yeah, it was fucking Mike Tyson.
And okay. So here, let's keep playing this game. Where is this fight taking place? On Netflix, a platform where it's only casual audience members.
Built for casuals.
Yeah. All right.
So
maybe what I just harped on about decision making, maybe I was a little bit wrong there.
In a sense, but in another sense, you were like spot on. Like some of it is bad, but like. Maybe it's so bad it's good.
Maybe. It's like a square, man. Depends on which side you want to fucking look at it from. But I think the big takeaway from it is, in that last note, Netflix getting into live combat sports is amazing for the scene. Now that One Championship's on Prime, Netflix is getting into the boxing. I think we're going to start seeing Apple TV maybe get involved with some of this shit. I think something's on Paramount. I believe some combat sports show I want to say is on Paramount. Not too sure on it, but I think that's the next wave, because the pay-per-view model is not working, and it's a horrendous revenue model. But this streaming shit, I mean, I think that's where the money could be made. 260 million subscribers to Netflix. This is gonna be the most viewed boxing event of all time, probably. So the fact that it's likely to be Mike Tyson getting knocked out is a bummer, but for the future of combat sports, you know, we talked about MMA and all that shit. I think if something gets on Netflix, then it can be maybe on that same playing field.
Do you think the UFC has a future on Netflix?
It really seems likely, because if you looked at the TKO WWE merger, SmackDown is going to Netflix, right, in 2025. So I don't know when ESPN's deal with UFC is up, but if I'm one of those TKO board members, I'm saying, hey, we've got one product already on Netflix. That's pro wrestling. That's one audience. Why don't we put our MMA vertical on Netflix as well? Especially if this is doing well. If they see a great amount of reception with SmackDown and the analytics are there, I wouldn't be overly shocked if UFC maybe migrates. Now, the thing with ESPN is because it is like the sports heart of the world, right? So if you're on that, you're getting that level of attention and the interviews and the peddling of it. But again, if you want to maybe attract a different market that's more casual centric, maybe a Netflix move is the key. And I think money talks more than anything else. So if Netflix is like, we're gonna pay double what ESPN is, why would you not? Right? I mean, it's a curious conversation. And again, I mean, I don't know your knowledge. I don't know anything about their decision making. It's all me like kind of speculating and trying to put in their shoes, but I don't know. I hope Misfits goes to Netflix. I mean, that for me, I don't know when our DAZN deal is up, but if Misfits made its way to Netflix, which made sense because a lot of our roster is stars from reality shows on Netflix. So to me, that makes a lot of sense. But UFC, who knows?
Misfits, is that a...
That's the boxing.
Right, who runs that though?
That's Bams Taylor is the main guy. He's KSI's manager.
I was gonna say
fantastic dude.
Isn't that KSI's promotion?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, but DAZN has equity in it, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure there's like a combined effort towards it, and I don't think they would want Misfits to go to Netflix. I don't think ESPN would want UFC to go Netflix. You know, if I've got a cookie on my table, I don't want David to have my cookie. You know what I'm saying? I want it to be on my table, especially if it's attracting attention and whatnot. So I don't know if Misfits did. Who knows? But DAZN's great. I mean, I do like DAZN. But yeah.
Just an interesting time we live in. It's
a very interesting
the actual sport aspect of thing, the business side of the sports. It's a crazy time.
It's fucking wild, man. It's good. I think this year, 2024, 2025, 2026, potentially could be some of the best years to be a combat sports fan, just with how it's evolving. I would say 2014 to 2016 with the Conor era was the best one, but with how things are shifting and moving, it could be even better. Yeah.
More resources, better athletes, more experience behind it already.
More Apex shows.
I'm looking forward to it.
Can't wait. I can't wait.
Where can everybody follow you and find all your content, Ben?
At Ben the Bane Davis on all platforms. Twitter is the main hub. I've invested a lot of time and energy in the YouTube recently. I'm putting up a couple fun videos there. So
Dude, I've been seeing great videos, dude.
Thank you.
Great content.
Yeah. It's
Are you editing everything?
I don't edit at all, actually. So what I do is I hit record and then I just go on Streamlabs and I shift between, different scenes and then hit end record and then immediately upload. I've got this kid in Bangladesh that does all my shorts and he's fantastic. But it's not like I have much to edit. I just pay him monthly to do like thumbnails basically at this point. But if I have more time and energy, then maybe I'll get into like some serious edited content. I've got ideas, which is why you should follow.
Nice. Appreciate you so much, brother. Ben the Bane Davis, one of the best in the business. Still Friendship episode 82. See you guys next time.